because I don't have my glasses on. That's why I can't get focused. That's better. Hello, my name is Bethany and welcome to another Writing Werewolf video. Today we'll be discussing the books that I read in January and my TBR for February. My February TBR. Whatever you call it. I've never done one before, so this is gonna be interesting. So to start off with a little sum up for January. I thought it went quite well. Don't know about anybody else. It's now the 1st of February, so I can officially say that I've finished reading everything in January. Despite the fact that I have a Coca-Cola Santa Claus t-shirt on. It is actually February. So we're gonna get right into it. I read 6 books in January, which is about a little over one a week. So I think it's 5 weeks. Yeah, 5 weeks in January, so it's a little over one a week. And I started with The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones. So I bought this for myself. I was going to say I got it for Christmas, but I didn't. I bought this for myself just before Christmas. And it was quite recommended quite highly. It talked about a lot on book Twitter and book Instagram. As it was kind of celebrated as one of these really nice, really good horror books. And so I thought I'd pick it up. I saw a couple of mixed reviews before I actually started reading it. I know somebody I followed on Instagram said that they really didn't enjoy it, so I was curious as to see how it would be for me, because I like horror, but I'm quite picky when it comes to horror, because if it isn't scary, then it's not, I'm not so easy to frighten, basically. And I thought it was an interesting read. I did think it read like 2 different books. So you had the first bit. I'm gonna try and keep this as spoiler free as possible. But basically the premise is that these four guys went and shot some elk, and 15 years later the elk comes back. It's a really interesting premise, and I really liked it because it's a bit of folklore that isn't normally discussed. It's not commonplace folklore. It's not exactly a household sort of thing. Like if you mention Zeus, everybody knows who Zeus is. If you mention an elk-headed woman, it's maybe not as knowledgeable as to the fact that you're actually discussing something and you're not just insane. Yeah, so it's split into 3 parts. So you have the first part and the second part read very much like 2 totally different books. Which is, it's okay. It's not because they are split into parts. It would be different if it was just a one chapter's change. Just the story took an entire different turn. It's on one random chapter. The fact that it's split into parts sort of makes it a wee bit more manageable. And then there's the third part, which is shorter, and that was my favourite part, I think. I won't say anything because I don't want to spoil it, but I will say that this is one of the best uses of second person narration that I've seen recently. I quite like second person narration in horror. I think it's a really good technique, and I think it's quite underused, but maybe it's only good because it is underused. I'm not entirely sure, but it was quite effective in this, and I did enjoy it very much. Overall, this was a 3-star though, because it was very slow to get started, and it did take me a while to get into. So it's a 3-star, I'm afraid. The problem with discussing the books I've read this month is that a third of the books I read this month were for reviews that haven't been posted yet, and they're supposed to be posted on a specific date, so I can't really discuss them now. And that's basically what happened here. So this is Captain Clive's Dream World by John Bassoff, which I don't know if you can see because it's on my Kindle, and also it'll be backwards because this is my front camera because I'm a genius. But Captain Clive's Dream World is basically about this policeman who finds a prostitute dead. She's cut her own throat. It's very clear what the motive was. I don't know what words you can and can't say on YouTube before you get blacklisted, but it's very clear that she took her own life, and then he gets his boss accuses him of murdering her and decides to send him away to this quiet town called Angels and Hope, where there's no crime and nothing ever happens. and it's basically a punishment for him because he's gonna go and he's gonna be like really bored. Because it was quite slow to start, I did give it a 4-star rating. But other than that, I really enjoyed it actually. I'm actually quite surprised at how much I enjoyed it. But yeah, you can catch my full review on the, I think it's 22nd of February it goes live. Yeah, that's when my full review will be up. Don't really want to say too much other than I quite liked it at the moment. So the next thing I read was A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. So this was, I read this, I didn't read the whole book, which is kind of cheating, but I read A Christmas Carol, and I was like, I'm gonna count this anyway. The university degree that I'm doing at the moment has a chapter, the first section of one of the modules is on reputations, and one of the reputations that it looks at is Charles Dickens's, and the reputation of A Christmas Carol. So one of the things they mentioned pretty exclusive, like they advise that you read the whole thing in one sitting, which I can get behind, and also in like the textbook they list like some examples of like film editions of A Christmas Carol, and the only one that they find worthy enough to note is A Muppet's Christmas Carol, which is this is like a textbook I can get behind. But yeah, I've read A Christmas Carol before. It was a couple of years ago. I don't know if the version I read was like edited for like a more modern audience. I'm not entirely sure. This is the original. I liked it then. I still like it now. It's at 4 stars. I really liked it. The next book I read was Steve Berman's Vintagey Ghost Story. So Steve Berman actually reached out to me and asked me to review this, and I was honoured. He sent me a copy and I read it, and I really loved it. The summary is that our main character, who has no name, is the only gay man in his small town, and it's set in 1997, which conveniently is the year I was born. It's got very like goth vibes and very much like pre-emo sort of vibes. I really loved the atmosphere that it created. The premise is basically that our narrator bumps into a boy walking down the side of the road one night, and he talks to him, and this guy like talks back, and then he realizes that this man is a ghost, and he basically kind of starts a relationship with Ghost, except the ghost then becomes really possessive, as ghosts tend to do. I've just realised it says it's a finalist for the Galactic Spectrum Award. I love that. It's just it really has a massive focus on relationships, and I'm quite into books that have that nice focus on and not even just like romantic relationships, like friendships and family relationships and everything. And I really liked it. I really enjoyed it. This was a solid 4-star rating. I really liked it. The next book I read, so this is book number 5, was Catch Lily 2. So this is by Sophie Whitmore. Sophie reached out to me to ask if I was interested in reviewing her book. It's about a siren, an immortal. It's about an immortal siren named Lily, and basically she doesn't remember that much about her past, but she knows she's a siren, and sirens basically have like, you know, magical powers, and you know, they eat human hearts, that sort of thing. So she's drawn to this small town, and she shows up. She checks into a hotel or an inn, and she goes up to her room, and she finds the dead body of a guy hanging there, and his ghost. And his ghost, the ghost becomes a very unwilling friend. She finds a message carved into the back of this poet left for her by someone else in the town, and then she figures out that the town is full of creatures, like mythical creatures. Like, you've got witches, you've got ghosts, Native American folklore. I don't want to pronounce the name because I will get it wrong. Gods, you've got vampires, you've got you basically have a whole assortment of like creatures out of folklore, and I really like that. I'm if anybody here reads my blog, you'll know how into folklore I am. I really liked it to see like such varied representation. Like, it wasn't all just Greek, and it was all like a sort of like a new interpretation of these ancient like these like ancient legends and stuff like that. But basically, Lily figures out that there's a serial killer hunting monsters and killing them with special weapons in this small town, and she has to figure out who it is before this person kills her or her friends, basically. I really liked it. It had a lot of representation in it. I really enjoyed it. It was a fun read. It had like Lily's quite like a, it's written in first person, and Lily's quite like a sarcastic narrator. It's like a subgenre of like fantasy fiction where you have like fantasy detective fiction or fantasy mysteries, and I'm getting really into them. I read this year, and then last year I read A Name in the Dark by J.S. Fortis, which has made it into my top 13 book list, like my top favourite 13 books ever, and it was in my best books 2020 video. It's a subgenre that I find myself like pulled back to quite often, and it is something that I really enjoy reading. The final book that I read in January is Orange City by Lee Matthew Goldberg. So I've read a couple of books by Lee Matthew Goldberg before. I read Slow Down and I read The Ancestor. This is another one that I have for review. That hasn't come out yet. I think this one's due out in March at some point. I will say I enjoyed it. The general premise is it's been compared to 1984. To explain any of it would give it away, but basically it involves a dystopian future and a hidden city and an addiction to soft drinks. And that's there's a sequel called Lemon World, which I'm actually quite excited for now that I think about it. But yeah, I really enjoyed this one. I finished it literally yesterday, literally the 31st I finished it. So then we come on to my February TBR. So I generally don't have TBR lists. I have lists of books that I need to review, and I have lists of books that I need to read for my course. The general way that I would choose what to read next is to just go to the shelf and just pick something, just whatever caught my eye, or if I saw like a review of something, I'd maybe like, you know, read it. But I want to generally what normally happens is I see an interesting looking book and I buy it and then I read it, which isn't ideal. Like for example, I'm very tempted to buy, I don't know what the actual series is called, but I keep seeing them on Instagram. Is it A Vow So Bold and Deadly or something like that? I think that's the third one. The covers look so pretty, and I want to see how much they are in Waterstones. So that might be, I just got paid yesterday, so that might be the first thing I buy. Not that I have that much money at the moment, but you know, pandemic. So normally what would happen is I would either buy what I want to read next, or I would just pick off the shelf. I'd just read it, and that would just be it. I wouldn't have a set goal, I wouldn't have anything, I would just read what comes to me. But I want to try and read more this year, and also now that I'm doing videos on certain topics, like my YA as an adult series, I've done Twilight, I'm filming The Raven Boys this week. You know, I have targets that I need to meet if I want to do it. I'm planning to release one of those sort of like once a month, and if I want to do that, then I need to, you know, get a move on and start reading them, because some of these series have so many books in them, namely the House of Night series. Yeah, there's 12 books in the House of Night series, and I'm not like, they're not long, but you know, if I want to do that and I want to do like other things, like other videos on specific books as well, then I need to read those books as well. And it's generally like I have to fit in my review books. Generally I would read those first, but I'm sort of getting more and more in now, especially if it's anything compared to last year when there was a point where I was cutting it pretty close, but I managed to get them all out in time, and that's the main thing. Yeah, so I have that, and then I have books that I need to read for my uni course. So I decided I was going to actually make a TBR list for sort of per month for the rest of the year, or as long as I see fit to keep going. If it disintegrates, fine, but at the moment we're gonna keep it up. I have a TBR list prepared for February, and also one for March, that if I finish February I can just move on to March immediately, and then when I finish February I'll do April, and I'll keep it rolling like that, because there's no way I'm reading all those books on my TBR list for March before the end of February. I have 8 books on my February TBR list. 2 of them have been sent to me to review. One of them by, not the author, but a friend of the author, and the other one by Blackthorn Book Tours, who send me most of my books to review. First is Dilemma by Finn Murphy and Simon Bramhall. I have not yet, I just started this morning. Looks interesting. It's a medical drama. I haven't, it doesn't have a cover. I don't have a cover to show you because the edition I have doesn't have a cover on it. It's a Kindle edition. And I don't actually know what the plot is either, but we're gonna go with it. It's a medical drama set at the turn of last year's. It starts on New Year's Day, 1st January 2020, which is quite ironic to like look back on now and be like, wow, these people are so full of hope even though they're fictional. But you know, yeah. So I'm currently reading that at the moment. Then after that, I'm going to read Colony by Benjamin Cross, which is like a Arctic horror, which I'm quite intrigued by. That's the Blackthorn Book Tours as well. They send you a synopsis and I never read it. I'm just like, yeah, that looks good. I'm gonna get that. but I need to stop. And then after that, I have the Vampire Academy series. I might actually read some of these books simultaneously, so I might start Vampire Academy sort of today or tomorrow and read it along with Dilemma. Dilemma's not that long, I don't think, so I might be okay, but just to sort of, you know, keep things up. So basically there are 6 of the Vampire Academy books. I really like these covers. I have the last book that I have, so it goes Vampire Academy, Frostbite. Please tell me if I'm getting this wrong, by the way, because I've thought for ages it was Shadow Kiss that came second, and it might still be Shadow Kiss that comes second, but I'm fairly certain it's Frostbite. But I'm not entirely sure. So we're going to go with Frostbite as the second one. I'm sure when I get into Goodreads it'll tell me. Then I have Shadow Kiss. Then I have Blood Promise. I have Spirit Bound. And then I have, annoyingly, in an entirely different edition, Last Sacrifice. This one is red. I like this cover, but I don't like the fact that it doesn't match the rest of them. Also the fact that this is they're different sizes. Because I bought the first 3 when I was in America. These 3, this is the back. I bought these 3 in the UK, so they're different sizes. It's emotionally difficult to look at, but it's fine. I'll survive. At least they're not red. Although the rest of the editions of these are really pretty, but I'm not going to go out my way to buy them. I'm hoping the fact that I've read them before means that I can go through them a bit quicker, even though I will be like sort of like analysing them and taking my time. Hopefully I'll be able to get through them. And if I manage to get through all of those, because that's like 2 books a week, which isn't that much if I'm reading them at the same time, so it should be fine. But then if I manage to get through all of those, which I'm not banking on, but if I do, then I'm going to start with the first. No, it would have been the first book, but it's still in the packaging with the rest of them, and I'm not opening the packaging because I'm going to save that for the video where I like read them. So I had this video idea a while ago. This is the first 3 books of the Mistborn trilogy by Brandon Sanderson. I have never read Brandon Sanderson. I don't think. I might have read some of his books when I was like 13 at the library, but I don't remember them. I don't have any concept, like I don't know how well he writes. But he is like frequently referred to on Reddit as a fantastic writer, a fantastic fantasy writer. And whenever anybody, I've been in like writing groups on Discord, and they've like, that's the first thing that, as soon as there's like a resources channel that goes up, the first thing that gets posted is Brandon Sanderson's series of lectures on YouTube on how to write. And I'm sure he's great, but I don't want to take advice from him if I don't know how well he writes. Do you know what I mean? I'd like to like know how well he writes. Like, I wouldn't go to Stephen King for endings. I would go to Stephen King for advice on characters. I wouldn't go to Stephen King on advice for endings, because his endings are frequently disappointing. His characters are quite realistic and gritty. I'm gonna read these and I'm gonna have a look at them, and I'm gonna see what I think of the quality of writing in it, because as much as I've seen a lot of people celebrating his writing, and I have also, I posted this on Twitter a couple of times, and every single time I posted it on Twitter I had people being like, oh, Brandon Sanderson's amazing, you're gonna enjoy it, he's such a good writer. And like, yeah, okay, sure, let's do that. But I'm gonna read his, before I say anything about it, I'm gonna actually read the first 3 books. I know there's like 6 in the series, but I'm not, 6 or 9 or something like that, but I'm just gonna stick with the first 3. I don't have time to read a whole series that I may or may not enjoy. I'm not necessarily not a big fan of epic fantasy. I don't like epic fantasy when it's written specifically, or like targeted specifically towards guys. because I find that it lacks a lot of, you know, when a woman writes an epic fantasy, it has a lot more nuance, I feel, than like if a man wrote an epic fantasy. This is a rant for another day. I tend to enjoy epic fantasies written by women more, but one of the things that people say about Brandon Sanderson is that he's really good at writing female characters. So let's go with that. Keep an open mind and we'll read it. So that video should hopefully be coming out at the end of March, if I manage to read all of these in time. Hopefully the other books that I'm reading for videos I will actually finish in time, because that's quite a long series that I'm planning to read in March as well. I no longer read books for fun, I only read them for the entertainment of others. Yeah, I'm going to start with the first 3, and if I like them, maybe I'll go for the next 3. Or maybe I'll look at his writing advice. I don't know. So that's my to be read list. Just a short update on my writing. It's going terribly. If you have any comments, have you read any of these books that I've discussed? Would you like to read any of these books that I've discussed? What do you think about the Vampire Academy series? If you would like your opinion on the Vampire Academy to be featured in my Vampire Academy video, then let me know what it is down below. The last time I read them, I remember liking them. What do you think about Brandon Sanderson? Is he a good author? A good writer? Does he write women well? I'm interested. Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, because that's what people do. That's what they say on YouTube, so I'll say it too. Don't forget to like and subscribe. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter. The links will be down below. Check out the reviews of the books that I read in January on my blog. When they become... Some of them aren't up yet. They'll be up on specified dates, as I mentioned. The rest of them should be there. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye!